Hello there and welcome to Thank Dog We Made It. I'm so glad you're here with me today. We are working on part 3 of the 3-part series on how to customize the Rebel Hound hoodie. So let me just show you the picture here of the Rebel Hound hoodie. This is the jacket that we've been working on for the last 3 weeks, or the last 2 weeks, and then today we're going to finalize it. We're customizing the pattern. This is the finished hoodie that you just saw on Scout. And as I talked about in the when I was showing you in the picture, this is where her withers are. And you can see that visually on this coat just because this is where I've created the opening. That's where the harness sits. It sits right on her withers, and that's where the opening is to attach the leash to if you were going to attach to the harness. So that gives you a visual indication on this jacket here where that is. And in the first episode, what we did is we changed that length from where the collar sits on the dog to where the withers is. And in the second episode, we looked at changing the neck circumference. So changing the circumference around this part of the jacket. And we did that in 3 places. We did that on the back panel and also on the front panel, this section in here. And we also did it on the sleeves. And so if I show you on the over on the patterns themselves, we worked on the back section, which is this portion here. We also worked on the sleeve, which is this portion of the pattern, and we also worked on the front part of the pattern. Today, as I said, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be increasing the length on the jacket itself. So if I go to this overhead picture again, and I'm just going to circle back to that other photo that I showed you because this gives you a really good idea. The jacket itself is designed to only go 3/4 of the way down the dog's body. It's a bit more of a top than a full-length coat. That's the way it's designed. But you may want to increase this so that it goes all the way down and covers the body, right down to the tail. Or perhaps you may want to even shorten it more and have it come up a bit more of a crop top, just make it really like a top. This is just designed to be 3/4 of the way through the body. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at how to lengthen this or to shorten this so that it comes to a different position on the dog's back. So back to the pattern. We are going to be just looking at the 2 parts of the pattern that affect the length of the coat, and that is the back portion and the front portion of the pattern. Now, let's just look at the back portion first. On my pattern, you will see, I'll bring this up to the camera so you can hopefully see a little bit closer. There is some scissors here and a dotted line. That is the cut, the lengthen, shorten line on the pattern. And most patterns will include that in their pattern. But if you have a pattern, I try to give these instructions so that they're universal and that you can work with the other patterns that you may have. If you have a pattern that doesn't have this cut line on it, you just need to look for a portion on the like a place on the pattern where you're looking at generally straight lines. There may be a slight angle. This one's slightly angled. This one's straight. But what you're trying to avoid are circles, like not circles, but curves in the pattern. Because once you cut on a curve, then you've got to start realigning the lines of the pattern itself. So if you try to find a place on the pattern where you're relatively straight lines, then it makes it a lot easier. So look for the place on the pattern where you can cut easily without affecting too much of the outline of the pattern. Now, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to cut through on that cut line, and I'm going to show you first how to shorten this is if we were considering making this a shorter jacket, and then I'll show you how to lengthen it. So the shortening is pretty simple. All you're going to do is, let's say you wanted to shorten it by, let's say 3/4 of an inch. You would measure off with your pencil 3/4 of an inch and make a mark right on the pattern itself. Put that in 2 separate places so that you can draw a nice straight line across. And then, excuse me, and then just line those 2 up. and then draw yourself a line across. And then you would just simply glue this portion here, add some glue here, and then pull this up. And when you are like pull this up, what I mean, I'm just like pushing it together. I'm making it shorter. So I'm going to line this cut edge that I did with that new line that I drew right on my pattern. And when I do this, I want to make sure that I am keeping this line straight. I want to keep, this is my fold line. So I want to make sure that that is always going to be lined up. So when I'm lining this up, I want to make sure that that line is continuous all the way up. And then I'm going to line it up with my line here. Now this, because this cut line is pretty well positioned, there isn't, you can just see a little tiny jog. You may not even be able to catch that on the camera, but there's just a little tiny jog here where these lines don't line up, but they're pretty close. And then I would just simply realign that, depending on how big that little jog might be on your pattern. Then you would just line up that point where the pattern starts and that point where it ends, and then I would just draw a brand new line across there. That is how you would shorten the pattern. What we're going to do is actually lengthen the pattern. So I'm going to spread this to make extra space in here. So I'm going to add an extra inch in here. When you measure your dog, you may have completely different measurements. So measure your dog first. Make sure you follow some kind of a measuring guide. I've got a full measuring video that you can watch that walks you through the steps of measuring your dog's back and the withers and all the different measurements that we do in this. But once you've got that measurement, that's how you're going to figure out how to adjust your pattern. So I'm going to add an extra inch in here. I've already created myself a couple of scrap pieces of paper, and what I did is I put that inch, I drew that inch onto the paper, and then I added a 1/4 inch on either side so that I can glue that. So just get yourself a piece of scrap paper, mark down the measurement that you want to create, the adding in, the extra measurement, and then add a 1/4 inch or some kind of a space on either side. The main thing is you want to have some lines here that you can line up with. One of my lines is kind of disappeared. My pen is running out of its ink, so I'll just darken that up a little bit. There we go. All right. So this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a piece of scrap paper, and I am going to glue the two sides of that piece of scrap, that little extra piece that I just created with my extra inch. And then I'll just add some glue on either side of that. And then I'm going to take this portion, and I want to make sure that I'm lining up this side here with that side there. This is my fold side. So this is my true measurement. I want to always make sure that this is straight and even. So I'm going to start by lining the cut that I created. I'm going to line that up to the left edge there. And I'm also going to make sure, while I'm doing that, that this line here is straight, that those match up on that edge. So I'll push that along down and flatten it in so that the glue sticks. And then I'm going to take the other part of my pattern and do the same thing. I'm going to just add it to this part, to the bottom part, making sure that it lines up along the bottom, the base of the pattern, and then continue along that line and just flatten it down so that the glue sticks. Then I'm going to just make this line straight down so that I've got my fold line on both sides of that pattern. And then here, if I just did a straight line across, you can see more now because we added some extra space in. You can see that there's a jog between here and there. What you're going to do is you're going to take it from this point here down to that point there, and take your ruler and just create a brand new line lining up those 2 points. And then you would do the same thing for your seam allowance if your pattern has a seam allowance on it, like mine does. Mine is a 3/8 inch seam allowance, so I'm just going to continue that along so that I have a seam allowance that I can cut off. Okay, so now I've got the new edge on my my back side. I'll just cut off that excess piece that I don't need anymore. And there we go. I've now got a new back length. I've added an extra length, an extra inch into the back length on this hoodie. So it's going to go further down the back. When I do that, it's really important that I also do the same change to the front. And the reason is that you can see on here, you got a C. Let's bring it up to the camera a little bit closer so you can hopefully see. It says C to front. And so this portion here must match this portion here. You could see C, so we're matching the C's up. And you want it, this one's going to back and the other one's going to front. You want to make sure that these two sections are exactly the same length. So it's really important that you do the same change here. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to cut along that cut line that's on the pattern. And again, if you don't have a cut line on your pattern, just find the place where it's relatively straight, that you've got flat edges on either side. So the same thing, if we wanted to shorten that, we would shorten that again by adding a line 3/4 of the way in, like I did on my last one, in my last example. And then I would move this up and I would make sure that this flat edge where my fold edge, I always want to keep the fold edge, I want to keep that as a straight line. So I would start there and then I would change. You can see there's a little tiny bit of a jog right here where that doesn't line up. So again, I would take a ruler and I would line it up from one corner to the other and create a new line so that those lined up. In our instance, because we added an extra inch in here, we're going to do the same thing and add an extra inch in here. So again, I've got another piece of paper here where I've already created the inch extra that we want to add. And yours might very well be quite different. You might be adding several inches in here, but this just gives you a quick idea of how to do it. So I'm going to get my scrap paper and add some glue here on either side, my buffer zones where I've added some extra space to glue. You can be as messy as you want with this glue because it just disappears afterwards. And then once again, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to flip around. I want to make sure this is my fold line. This is always has to be consistent and nice straight flat edge. So I'm going to line up my fold line with the edge of that paper. I'll take this off so you can see a little bit easier on the green maybe. So I'm going to line that edge with that flat edge there so that that lines up first. And then just kind of pivot it so it sits into position along, making that line line up with the line on my piece of scrap paper. And then I'm going to take the other side of my pattern, which is hard to tell which position it goes into, but it's this side here. And I'm going to position that again. I'm going to take the flat edge first and line it up with the fold side of the pattern. And then pivot this slightly, just get it into position along that line. Okay, so now we've added an extra inch in here. So if you've done it properly, you should have a nice straight line that goes straight along the fold side of the pattern. And then you just want to continue to change, or not continue, but you're going to make sure that there's a line, a nice straight line that goes there. And again, as you can see, there's a little bit of a jog here where the pattern stops there, but it starts again here. There's a bit of a change. So we just need to line up from that point, the bottom point of the pattern, to the corner that's underneath the arm on the coat. And then just draw a nice straight line there. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my seam allowance. I've got a 3/8 inch seam allowance. I'm just going to line up those lines and then draw myself a new line for my seam allowance. And draw, if you've got a nice sharp X-Acto knife, you can draw your knife right along to create a nice clean new edge. So now we've got a front piece and a back piece that have increased the length. And if you've done it properly, these portions should actually meet up. So what you've got is a nice smooth transition that's going from the waistband around the back. So that is it for customizing the back length. Being able to customize patterns is just such a lovely skill to build. And I've been working on this for the last 3 weeks on this particular Rebel Hound hoodie jacket, which is a bit more of a complex jacket because it has the front panel on it, it has sleeves, and it has the back panel. So there's 3 areas that you modify in this pattern. The cozy coat pattern, which is the first pattern I always recommend you start with when you're first starting to make your own custom fit dog coat. I think the cozy coat pattern is a fantastic place to start because it only has 2 areas on the coat that you need to modify to fit your dog. One is around the neck circumference and the other one is around the chest circumference. So it's super simple to change and you are literally just adding or subtracting in 2 places. If you have never made a dog coat, I'll just briefly mention that I do have a free download. It's a whole kit. It's got the pattern that you can print out on your printer, and it has step-by-step instructions on how to create that pattern and also customize the pattern. Plus it has links to, I think it's 5 different videos, maybe 5 or 6 videos in a whole playlist that shows you exactly how to customize it, how to do the different features that are on it. So it's a great place to start if you've never done a dog coat for your dog before. But this Rebel Hound hoodie is just starting to push those boundaries a little bit more and extend your skill set. And it's a really fun jacket to make. And I tell you, when you make this jacket, you get lots of people complimenting you on it because it's just a little bit original. It's a fun jacket to have on the jacket. People just really compliment it a lot when Scout wears this jacket outside. This is a great jacket just to give a little extra warmth on the fall and spring days. Or if you have a dog that runs really cold and needs a little extra layer of warmth all the time, this is just a great little cozy jacket to make for them because they can wear it around the house to keep warm as well. So again, this is the 3rd of the 3-part series. And if you haven't caught the other 2 parts, there's down below in the description is a link to the full playlist so you can see all parts of this. There's also there's a link to the chart that I showed you, the measuring chart. So there's that. There's also a link to how to measure your dog. And what I'm putting together is a custom fit toolkit. So this, I'm really excited about this. This is coming out on February 15th. And what it's going to help you do is put together, basically what I've put together is an entire package that helps you to figure out how to customize just about any kind of pattern. I'm really excited about this. We go over how to customize a really simple, what I call a wrap jacket, which is like the cozy coat. And I call it the wrap because it simply wraps in 2 separate places. Really simple. So it helps you customize that. It helps you customize a sleeve type jacket like we've just gone over here, where it's got the sleeves in it. And that does, that's a little bit more challenging because it's got these 3 separate sections that you need to modify. And then the third, and so this is a sleeve style pattern. And then the 3rd style of pattern is called, what I call is a panel size pattern, style of pattern. And if you've ever seen my pattern for the slicker coat or the alpine coat, this is a jacket that has panels to it. It has a panel that sits on the back, so you've got a nice big back panel. It has a panel that sits on the front and attaches to the back, and it goes in between the dog's front legs, and then it wraps along on the sides of the jacket. So this is a really great jacket for a lot more coverage on a dog. It's also incredibly flexible in terms of how you can size it. That's not really the right, but fit it to the dog. So when you put it on, it has Velcro on the sides. So that allows you to change that position. So it gives you a lot of flexibility on how it fits the dog. And so that is the 3rd style of pattern. And this package is going to walk you through how to customize those. It also has a like a troubleshooting fit guide. So if you have made a dog coat for your dog and it's gaping in behind the arms, in behind the front arms on the dog, you've got a big gaping hole, like not a hole, but a space back there. Or let's say it's the withers position is off and you've got a really big space between the collar and where the jacket starts on the back of the neck on the dog. Or perhaps what's happening is it's too tight in the front. This troubleshooting fit guide will help you to narrow down where those problems exist and dial in. So what it says is, okay, you've got a gap here, check out page 9 of the workbook. And this kit comes with a 10-stage measuring workbook. So you get a video to see every one of those measuring points on a dog. There's 10, or was actually 12 of them, but I've broken it into 10 sections. And so you get to learn and watch how every one of those measurements are done. And then you get this workbook that allows you to measure it and write down all your dog's measurements. And then this cheat chart, this fit chart that I was talking about, this troubleshooting chart, allows you to, okay, I've got this space, this gap in behind the front legs. Then it says, okay, if that's your problem, check out page 9 of the workbook. So it really helps you to narrow down where your fit issues are and make it really simple for you to make those adjustments to the pattern. It also includes the 3 patterns that I'm talking about. So this package includes 3 free patterns in it. So you get the cozy coat pattern and the Rebel Hound hoodie that I've just been going through and showing you how to customize. And it includes the slicker or alpine jacket, which is this panel jacket that I was talking about. So you get all 3 of those. And so right now, there is a link down below if you're interested in finding out more about how to customize, because this is the biggest issue that I've found people have had, is they're just having such a challenge with customizing the fit of a pattern that they have to fit their dog. They just can't quite nail it in and they don't know what's going on. And so I have people sending me photographs and saying, how do I fix this? What's going on? And I can usually, by looking at the photographs, narrow it down to, okay, I see that there's this is what you need to fix. But that's what this troubleshooting guide that I was talking about shows you how to do. So I'm putting this together. It's going to be available February 15th. There's a link down below if you want to sign up for the wait list. And if you sign up for the wait list before February 15th, you get a $10 discount on it. So it's only going to be $37. And it'll include those 3 patterns that I was talking about, but it'll include them in the size that you want. Once it hits the full price after February 15th, it goes to $47, and it'll give you those 3 same patterns, but only in the medium size. I'm not giving those in the size that fits your dog. So if you're watching this video before February 15th, 2026, get yourself on that wait list, because you get a really good deal and you get the measurement, or get the pattern in the size that's closest to your dog. So I'm so excited about this. I'm working like crazy behind the scenes getting this all ready, and I can't wait to show it to you guys. I'm going to put a video together shortly that does walk you through all of the different components so you get a better idea of what it is. But take a look at the wait list page, the links down below, because that will tell you what's in the package and what you can expect to get from it. And the other thing that's got a link down below, just as I'm remembering it now, there is a link to the Rebel Hound hoodie pattern. So if you are interested in making this, you can make this pattern. And there's a link there for you to download that pattern as well. If you just simply want to go ahead and start making that pattern, you can start doing it right from that link. By all means, if you do have any questions, just add a question down below in the comments down below. I always answer them as quickly as I can. And again, if you want to send me photographs of a problem that you're dealing with right now, just do that. Send an email to me. My email is down below in the description. You can send me that email and send me the photographs. I had a great question last week from somebody who sent me all sorts of different photographs showing me a coat on their dog, and I could see right from the pictures where they were concerned because it was too tight in the chest. So next week I'm going to be going over this pattern that she is working with, and I'll show you that pattern, and then I'm going to show you the fix that I suggested. And maybe by then I might even have heard back from her as to whether she's actually tried this fix and whether it worked for her. But it will give you some good visual ideas on where some of those problems can exist. Maybe when you look at her photographs, you can see, okay, I've seen that on my pattern. Now I can see how I might be able to fix that. So that's what we're going to be working on next week. And again, if you have any questions yourself, feel free to come in live, and I will answer them as best I can while I'm live, or by putting a comment down below, or by emailing me. All right, I am going to wrap this up for today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, you know what to do. Please do follow me and give me a thumbs up on this video. It really does help to let me know that you are enjoying the stuff that I'm working on, but it also helps YouTube to know that this is a good video and that's something that people are actually getting information from. So that really helps a lot if you like my video, if you follow it, and hit the bell so that you know that when you subscribe, when a new video comes out or when I go live, you'll get a notification. All right, have a great week. Next week, we'll see you at 11 a.m. Pacific time on the same place, same channel. Have a great week. All right, bye-bye.